Welcome to the Eclectic Gamers Podcast. Today is Sunday, January 28th. This is episode 54. I'm Tony.
And I'm Dennis. And this time we're joined by a super special guest. He is the 17th ranked in the world by the International Flipper Pinball Association as of this morning. He runs the hit pinball website Fun with Bonus. He is known as the Marquis of Multiball, the Duke of Dead Flipping, the Prince of the Pops, and of course the King of Cashing, Mr. Steve Bowden. Welcome to the Eclectic Gamers Podcast.
Well, I feel welcome and super special. Thank you.
Good. I worked really hard to come up with all those acronyms for you. So if you ever take up boxing, boxing, I've got almost a half dozen for you ready to go.
Exactly. I'm ready to go to the ring now. Yeah, let's go. Pinball podcast, Bloodsport. Yeah, let's talk about some topics.
Mm-hmm. Well, with our theme of gamers, it could really be any sort of game, including a bloody sport game, or the passionate game of the silver ball. And so, since we're in our introduction segment, Steve, go ahead and lead us off. I imagine a lot of our pinball fans know you because you do appear on a number of pinball podcasts, but what's been going on recently or anything you want to mention or shout out about before we actually start diving into all these topics?
Sure. I'm Steve Bowden of funwithbonus.com, and I am a very prolific pinball tournament player. I love playing in tournaments all the time and talking about them and competing and meeting people and talking about strategies and other things that are, happening in each of the games that they're playing. Like I said, funwithbonus.com. I do the new pinball dictionary, which I get requests to get new words from every time something strange happens.
Yeah, that one's a lot of fun.
Tournaments, right? What else? Like I said, I just came from a tournament yesterday in Maryland. So, I'm straight off of that. So I'm very glad to be here, and I'm glad to see the number of topics we've got coming up. This is going to be a very good show, I think.
I hope so, and we really appreciate you coming on, especially on your recovery day post event. we got to get them while they're weak.
I know,
their minds are malleable.
Cut me, Lou. Cut me. I've been driving for a few hours. I'm struggling. Although what that does, I mean, it's kind of good to have that drive on the way back because, if win or lose, you have that time to decompress. And so I have that time to decompress on the road so I can analyze what I did wrong and then clear that out. Or if I won, just say, okay, cool. So I know what I did wrong. I know the mistakes I made and I can clear that out and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, so you get to let the frustration out, on the steering wheel and stuff when you think of that one time you messed something up.
Right, that's what it is. It's like when you leave, it's like you think about that last ball or that last whatever got you out of the tournament. And then that period after that is post pinball depression, where you clear out, what did you do wrong? Okay, how can you learn about that? Okay, and then when that's done, okay, now we can move on because luckily for us, there's usually another tournament coming up pretty soon. I mean, it's not like back in the day. Few years ago, and we've got some tournaments coming up just about everywhere. So, get back up, get back on that horse and get playing still.
Inspiration to us all. Speaking of inspiration, Tony, intro, what's been going on since our last show for you?
Well, since our last show, we had the first tournament that we attended this year, actually.
That's right.
At the Pizza West tournament, and the showing was a little light because it happened at the exact same time as the IFPA state championship. So none of the bigwigs were there, which means I did good.
Yeah.
You got to get it. You got to get paid when the opportunity is there. The door is open.
That's right.
That was my chance. And every time I came up against somebody who I actually thought I would have problems with, I was like, let's play Flash Gordon.
Exactly. Nice. I like it.
This is true.
Like it.
Flash Gordon's the equalizer. I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are. Flash Gordon will wipe you out if it gets a chance.
Exactly right, because it punishes made shots. Like, what shot is safe on Flash Gordon? There isn't any. Even things on the upper playfield. Because if you're in the upper playfield and you're too early, you'll shoot the upper loop the wrong way and come back down. So it's everywhere. That's what makes that game so exciting. And not random, but kind of. I mean, you got to master tap passing on that in order to just keep control, really, if you can. Because even if you make targets, you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean, you hit the drop downs on the right side at just the wrong angle, and it goes straight down the out lane. It's like, well, that was great.
Right. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's great, but I have to hit these.
Yeah,
but,
they're too important not to go for.
I gotta get it because I can't get the 4X without getting the 3 and the 2. So what do I do? And so it's just, well, I'm going to go for it anyway. And then the really bad thing is when you see your opponent do the same thing and not die.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And then you have to think about that. It's like, wait a minute. My opponent just cleared the entire rack of targets on the right. That's not cool. That's Flash Gordon.
Yeah, that's exactly that. So we did that. That was a lot of fun. We had one of the rarities where we actually met in tournament play.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't face each other much.
Grudge
match. Very rarely. Oh yeah, it was grudge match. It was full on grudge match. It went to 3 games. It pushed hard.
Do you have any strategies against each other that you know each other's strengths, weaknesses, styles, modern versus classics games, things like that? Strategies?
I asked the tournament runner to go home and get Batman and bring it because Batman.
Yeah, Tony's stronger on certain games, so he'll know on that. He sent me to generally speaking, he took me to the hardest games that were available. So he took me to Flash Gordon first, and I did win that one. But then he took me to Iron Man, which actually is one of my preferred games, but I did lose on it. And then he finished me on Monster Bash, which I don't enjoy competitively.
Oh,
so
that is
I blew that game up though. I had a really, really good game I blew that thing up.
No, yeah. So it was like, I saw that score and I just couldn't get anything going on Monster Bash. And I was just been sitting there thinking, why can't Attack from Mars be back in this lineup?
Wow, right.
But
yeah, that is a serious set of 3 you just named there. Iron Man, yeah, that's a Punisher. Unless you have one Iron Man is really a one good ball sort of game. You can take one ball and rule the entire world, get dual die and everything, and you've locked it up. But, and Monster Bash, another one where if you don't get a roll, you kind of get nothing. You can almost start everything and have Jack, and then maybe start a couple things and then do pretty well. And then you have to start thinking about what kind of risks am I going to be taking on this game? How many monsters do I want to try to bring into this multi-ball? What's my opponent going to do? And that little internal chess match that happens there.
Yeah, I managed to trigger Mummy Mayhem and complete it. So
okay, all right, nice. So you got that hidden bonus that you don't really see. Yeah, because multi-ball, you get like a 10 million bonus because of the timer, but you don't see it. And no one sees it.
Just happens.
It just happens. And then you wake up like, oh, I have that now. Yes, all right, thank you. Okay, that's cool.
He didn't need it. He didn't need it. It was ball 3 was my only good ball, and I was so far from anything. I probably got close to just starting the basic Frankenstein multi-ball, but I just kept losing it down one of the outlanes, and it was the tilt's fairly tight on that one, so I couldn't risk much. One nudge was usually a double danger, so.
Ooh.
Oh yes, that's tight tilt.
Yeah, they keep that one tight. We don't like those games to go long. So
okay, I definitely see. Yeah, if you're a Monster Bash and you really get that center spinner going and you can loop that around, that games can take a while. Because you'll start seeing tournament players just shooting the center loop all the time, center spinner, just doing mosh pit until they die because it works. So yeah, I understand.
So he sent me home. Tony, I believe, ended 5th for that tournament, and I took 7th. So
okay,
which means I went out the very next round, is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the spirit for me. But so yeah, that went well for you. I haven't really had much outside of that, and you've already highlighted my defeat. So. Only thing I thought I'd go ahead and plug in here is we were doing a podcast t-shirt giveaway. So I did draw the winners on Friday as the instructions indicated. And so the 4 winners were Jeff C., Andreas Nervin, Jason Knapp, and Nathan Whitaker. So I've sent emails to all of them to figure out what addressing and such I need to do to take care of that. And so thank you anyone who was interested, because it shows us that some people care. At least a little bit for free stuff. So let's get out of this intro section because I'm getting depressed thinking back about Monster Bash. And let's move into our pinball stuff. And we'll go ahead, before we get into the news, and go ahead and kick off our shame round number 3. And Steve, what this is we're running. Shame. That's exactly what it's stolen from, because I can't create anything myself. I just steal. And What we had a show listener actually suggest doing a sort of a bracket tournament for people to submit in and vote on which games are games that might be considered shameful for a person to own or admit liking, but they actually think are a good game. So we had a preliminary list of 16, and we just wrapped up the second round. And real quickly, those were, so 8 games faced off in the second round. The Bally Game Show beat Stern's WWE with 62.5% support.
No surprise.
That. Yep.
No, not really.
I figured that would happen.
Yeah. That was not the widest margin of victory. This is the widest margin. It was Genie beat South Park, 73.9% of the vote.
Wow.
Wow. It's the call-outs. It's the terrible call-outs.
Wow.
Nobody likes those call-outs.
I guess, but I still was surprised it was this wide of a margin because
that's huge.
Because
the game's a complete idea, but it's a weak idea. But it's
yeah. I mean, I get that shooting toilet all day is really boring, but so is the entire left half of Genie. So I don't know. It is what it is. Big Buck Hunter beat Gottlieb's Genesis with 68.2%. And our closest match was Sharky's Shootout did take out Dolly Parton, but only with 52.2% of the vote.
That's really
I'm surprised it's that close.
That's really close for Sharkies there. I mean, I like Sharkies, and I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah.
I don't hate Sharkies.
I don't know if it's an exposure thing or what. I actually haven't played Dolly Parton, so I can't.
Me neither.
I can't really compare.
I can't. Me neither. I can't offer any opinion on that. But Sharkies, yeah, that's pretty decent. Like what, 8-ball deluxe on steroids, sort of reversed, and that's with a ramp. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Magic 8-ball with a magnet.
Yeah, and a little bit of deepness and strategy. Make sure you have text during multi-ball and all that. And it's got some stuff in it.
Yeah. They were trying there in 2000 when they didn't have to try anymore. Kind of.
Right. Somebody was trying in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the round 3 matchups are just 2 matches, 4 games. Game Show is going to go up against Genie now. Steve, which one's better?
Game Show versus Genie. Genie with that whole left side of nothing versus Game Show with let me shoot the center ramp until I'm tired of it. But you know what? I like Game Show because, I just won a new trip and a fabulous truck and a new car. I like hearing them say that. So
yeah, I lean your way as well.
There. You just won this and that. I'm all right. And Showcase Bonanza. Yeah, that wins for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think it gets it on theme integration alone. Tony, what's your thought?
It's anything is better than WWE. Really?
We're past WWE though.
Are you past WWE? What happened to me? Where did I go? I heard Game Show, and that was the last thing I heard.
Oh, you must have cut out on our Skype. All right, yeah, Game Show did beat WWE, so the new round matchup is Game Show versus Genie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it was cutting out a little bit. I think it was because my headphones were being weird. Game Show versus Genie, I haven't played either. Well, I've played Genie, but I haven't played Game Show.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You still haven't gotten up to 403 Club where they still have it on location, waiting for you.
So, I don't know.
That's okay. You don't have to know. We'll know for you.
You'll know for me.
All right, and the second matchup for this round 3 is Big Buck Hunter Pro versus Sharky Shootout.
I gotta give it to Sharkies. I'm sorry, but that deer, no.
I like Sharkies. I like Sharkies a lot.
That deer. I mean, I can see the power of Big Buck Hunter. Again, I'm looking at strategically and the deepness of it, and parts of it are too deep. Like open season. In order to get open season, you basically have to have the perfect game on it. But no, I just have more fun with Sharkies, really. I mean, part of it is mechanical, I guess, because a lot of times when I play Big Buck Hunter, that deer just doesn't work. And you hit it and it's just like, so, and then sometimes you don't hit it at all and it counts twice. So I don't know. And, I got to give it to Sharkies on that. Yeah, it's deep enough. It's deep enough for me. It's fine.
Okay. I actually have not had a chance to ever play a Big Buck Hunter Pro, so I can't say much. I've heard about the issue with the near impossible to get wizard mode, and that game would probably have benefited from a mini wizard, just to give people something a little flashy that was attainable. But
I mean, I guess you can call it the monster buck mode, which is basically, if you get all the classic jackpots and then get all the doubles and then hit the deer enough, you'll start monster buck, which is basically all the balls come back and, and you have a pretty good ball saver time. So it feels pretty wizardy there. So you could sort of count that as a sub wizard, maybe, even though it doesn't count at that. So I would give it that little bit of credit for it. That's pretty exciting mode. But as far as comparing it to Sharkies, nope, Sharkies wins.
Okay. Well, I'm biased on Sharkies because it's one of the few games I own. So.
Mm-hmm.
So okay.
I enjoy Sharkies. Yeah, it's got enough fun that I didn't think originally that it should even be in this whole shame listing. I was amazed its rankings were as low as it was.
Oh, it's easily out of the top 200. Our threshold was on solid state era and beyond was you had to not be in the top 200 of Pinside at the time. So a few games got through. Like someone had submitted Avatar. Avatar's too well liked to be
Avatar.
in there.
That's Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's how Sharky's made it in the shameless. Cause like I said, I don't feel shameful at all.
Yeah.
I don't like that game.
Everything that was submitted was outside of the top 200.
Wow.
Although if it was an EM game, it only had to be outside the EM top 100. And that's how Bally's El Toro made it in, which was a round one.
Oh God.
Round one. Who could like it? I don't know. So it did. So anyway, it did not survive at all, obviously.
Yeah, El Toro was in Pinburg and everybody hated it. Like, I would go past El Toro and people would be talking about it. Like that's how bad.
The only good thing I have ever heard about El Toro is I have heard people say there are worse EM machines. There are.
Wow.
It's just the most famous bad one.
Could be worse. Jeez,
wow. What a glowing endorsement. So yeah, our Avatar got thrown out for being too well liked. There was another one that got submitted that was too highly ranked. I don't remember which one it was. Another solid state. And then we did have one game, one of the street level Gottlieb's, Vegas, which wasn't ranked at all. There aren't enough people who have voted on it, so it was allowed in, but it did not survive well. So.
Everyone just enjoys a good game of hoops, and that's it. So on that one,
hoops was not submitted as a shameful game because
it's not shameful. Yeah, it's not the only street fella game everybody knows. Like, it's
unranked on Pinside.
Really? Okay.
Yep. The only street level that had enough have any votes for ranking is the one they made the most of, Silver Slugger.
Okay, right. Mm-hmm. Understandable.
Okay, so let's move on to news. All right. Yeah. All right. We got three kind of big-ish news topics. The first one's probably the smallest one, actually, and that was Stern Pinball did formally announce that the Luci iteration of AC/DC will be getting a Vault Edition. It took a lot of people by surprise. The reaction's mixed. There are some people that were excited about that because most of the AC/DCs are broadly viewed as fairly ugly looking. But on the flip side, there also has been a lot of discussion on social media about sexism in pinball and that this style of art really isn't appropriate for the band, for it not being an actual mascot or anything that's associated with AC/DC. So that's sort of been the fallout on the other side. But I have seen people say now they're buying a game that weren't going to buy one before. So I suppose for Stern's bottom line, it's probably a smart move.
Well, let's see. Well, when I first saw Luci out there, I was like, okay, so you mean not Tron Vault? You know, I totally Tron man.
I remain surprised about Tron. I mean, is that what is? Are we all in agreement that Tron is the most logical vault to be vaulted?
Oh yeah, I have no idea why there hasn't been a Tron Vault yet. It makes the most sense.
Okay, I didn't know. I didn't know if it was a general consensus that was it. You know, because I'm thinking, okay. Then I started searching online. I was like, oh, okay, my thought is not original. Everybody wants Tron. Why is it not coming out? So then my thoughts moved to, okay, so is everybody just telling Stern that they wanted this back? How are they telling them? Is it on a forum, a Facebook post? Where are they getting these numbers that say we need to make this many? Why are we making this many? Do we need to get some cash flow because of Guardians? I don't know. I mean, this is total BS. I'm speaking now. It's total speculation. It's totally irresponsible.
That's what we do.
It's totally irresponsible.
As you know, BS and speculation is what podcasts are built on. So,
right, yeah.
So, no, I don't. I mean, AC/DC I don't know where they detected whether or not there was the demand. In the Luci iteration, they never made very many of them. So I'm not surprised, since that was Stern-developed art, that once they renewed the license to vault AC/DC, that they'd start doing the various flavors. I don't think that's particularly surprising. I was surprised when they decided that AC/DC is what needed to be vaulted. I'm more concerned, thinking past that Tron might not be the next one. The rumor mill is saying that it's going to be Walking Dead, and that was just in production last year, so I really don't get that.
Is that do you count that as a vault? I mean, we just did that.
The only thing I can figure out is it's got to be a license issue. It's got to be. It's the only thing that makes sense why they haven't vaulted Tron as of yet, is because they've got a licensing issue.
But how hard could it be? I mean, they already have an established relationship with Disney, and this is not a top-tier franchise for Disney, so I can't even imagine they'd, what everyone's assuming, Star Wars it and, make it ultra expensive and ultra controlling on the art design.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the only thing that makes sense to me why they wouldn't have done it by now. Because like you guys said, I did not see a giant clamoring for AC/DC out there.
Yeah, are we talking about people who are holding $10,000 Luci? I mean, has the prices gone up so much that it's become?
No.
Is that what it is?
Not to asinine levels. And that's where I agree with you, Steve, because if you look at the used market, Tron, the Tron Pros, because everyone's modded them all out, are going for what the the LEs originally sold for, and the LEs are up in that stratosphere of ridiculous pricing. And so it just seems like it would be an easy idea to implement that. Hey, let's do that. Let's make a quote unquote premium version. Maybe you change the art package back to the 82 art package or something, kind of like how they did with Spider-Man.
Right. Yeah, do that. Let's come up with Tron 82. Let's see what will happen. Although, you can't have Tron 82 and put Daft Punk music in it.
Well, my solution.
You have to have the old soundtrack, which could be a problem.
I think the old soundtrack has some Journey in it, but outside of that, it's kind of weak. So here's my solution. You give it an 82 paint job, and then you just put Daft Punk in anyway. You don't even try and correspond the DMD. And you just be like, no, you guys don't care. You don't care.
Don't ask any questions.
Don't look too closely.
Oh, that's all right.
We don't need the save Mary Jane versus tell Mary Jane mode change.
Exactly.
It's pinball. Yes. People will move on.
No. Yes. No. What? That's like, okay, that's a mode. Okay.
But from a pricing perspective, Tron is the obvious one, looking at what the used market is commanding. And demand-wise, from what I've seen on forums, it's the obvious one, probably followed not by AC/DC, but rather by Lord of the Rings.
Right. Yeah, where is that? My goodness. I'm sure everybody would be clamoring for some Lord of the Rings right now. I know I would if I were in the market to buy a game. But
I've wondered on Lord of the Rings if maybe part of the issue is because they don't change the board sets when they do a vault. Everything they've vaulted so far has been SAM system, and they would have to go back to White Star.
That might be too much reinvestment, I guess.
I've wondered. I don't know. It's just a thought. Okay. So that's
sense.
Luci.
I hate that it makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. I hate that it makes sense.
This week in pinball, major conglomerating source of news now for the hobby. Makes it very convenient to know what's going on without having to dive into the toxicity of forums.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's podcast show prep. I love it.
Yeah, a number of podcasts rely on it to build their entire news segment. I still tend to go through a lot of the forum stuff. I should probably just release myself and allow myself to drift down the calm waters of This Week in Pinball. But I do love it as a source.
That's all I use anymore is This Week. Every week I check This Week in Pinball. I've actually got it set up on my thing, so every time they get a new post, it automatically pops up in my list as something to go look at.
So it's like, what did I miss this week? Okay, all right. here's something else I didn't have to go to Pinside for. Sweet, all right, nice.
So Jeff is a major asset to the community. And he had a follow-up interview this last week with Deeproot Pinball, the new entity on the scene that sent ripples across the waters of manufacturing with the announcement that John Papaduke, more commonly known as J-Pop, was the designer that they had contracted with. And we do have a link to the interview in the show notes, so people can just click on that if they want to go and read it. And if you're interested in this, you should read it, because we're not going to read it aloud to you. But as a quick sort of bullet point summary about what was new from what we learned from the last interview that This Week in Pinball had conducted, they have now announced additional exclusive designers, Barry Osler, who is indicated to be an in-house designer for them, and then also Dennis Nordman and John Norris. They indicated that they got David Thiel to do the sounds for them. They gave a basic summary of what the 5 days of deeproot will be in terms of what sort of broad topic would be on each day. They announced that there would be an upcoming webinar to reach out with information to the Zidware customers. It was indicated that there will also be an upcoming interview on this podcast. It was indicated that they are not going to be using an assembly line, but instead something that they refer to as quad assembly. Indicated that the dimensions would be the WMS era Bally-Williams size, so I guess that indicates not Zizzle machines. They indicated no plans to prototype with public test machines, at least. And one theme was announced, Fire and Brimstone, a Christian-themed pinball designed to appeal beyond that specific religious demographic. So that's it in a nutshell. There's a lot though to unpack. Steve, you're our guest. I'll let you open.
Am I?
Open the ribbon on the box.
And reach in. Let's investigate this thing. Okay. So I open it up. I read This Week in Pinball, and I read this sea of marketing that I read of marketing language and what's going on here. And then I look and I see, well, congratulations. The Collected Gamers has picked up the interview. Like, that's awesome. So then I realized, okay, this show is basically the show before the Deeproot show. This is the show before the Mueller investigation. So we're going to be kind of waiting for the next show. So I have no delusions of grandeur on the popularity or, of this show because of me being on it or anything. But, just, congratulations on that. But there's a lot of questions which I'd like to ask, which I probably won't even make sense of asking. I mean, I know in the middle of it talked about, it seemed like code was going to be customizable, maybe. How customizable? Are we talking about P-Rock customizable? Can we write our own code? Who's coding it? Who's Lyman? Who's Keith Johnson? Who's Joe Katz? Who are they going to be at this place? Who's going to be the master that we can put our trust in that's going to come out with good code? Because I'm a tournament player, so I'm interested in code and how games play well and everything. So that was just one of the questions I was just thinking of, and before I got lost in the sea of marketing at the end. So like my mind gets sort of twisted in knots as I try to break through the pseudo speak and everything. So that's why I listen to shows like yours, not try to kiss up or anything, because you tend to kind of break through that stuff in a good, concise way. So I'm looking forward to the next episode of this show as much as everyone else. That's going to be pretty good.
Well, we'll see what I should go ahead and clarify. We didn't reach out to Deeproot to secure the interview. When they first announced, I sent an email offering, if they wanted to have an interview, and at the time they did not. And then we were in discussions regarding some other stuff later on, and which I wasn't interested in. But I said, if you do want to use a podcast platform to do an interview, I'm always open to having a discussion. And so they ended up being interested. So that's sort of how that came about. And I've been in the process of trying to construct a list of questions, and you're not the only one who has contacted me regarding the software specifically. So, and in fact, I was chatting with Ryan C., who was one of the hosts of the Head to Head Pinball podcast.
Right.
And while his software concerns aren't exactly the same as yours, because you're coming at it from a very tournament perspective, he focused more in on this sort of open source idea. Is that the idea? Is it going to be fully open source, or is anyone going to be able to do like Chad H does with the Data East games and fully rewrite the rule set if he so desires? Is it going to have tools? Is there going to be a GUI and we're going to be able to go in and Minecraft our way into new rules and just
exactly? Because that could be great, but I mean, we're
right. But on the flip side, I got very concerned with the expression in the interview that they wanted to move this to a point where you would no longer be able to say the code is complete or incomplete, and that I don't get. I don't get it.
I get scared of that because then just the way my crazy mind works is I hear that and then I start thinking about in the gaming world about constant DLC and all that. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, could it be something like that where all of a sudden we're on this version and this version and this version and it's never really complete. You don't have a complete idea. I mean, usually at some point an artist has to be like, this is done. This is
except for George Lucas.
Oh, okay. Whoa.
I'm sorry. Sorry, prequel burn. I apologize, George. I'm sure he's a big fan.
Yeah. I'm sure he's wiping his tears with the billions of dollars Disney paid him.
Exactly. But yeah, that's kind of, I guess it's different. They're trying to be different. And so I'm allowing myself to remain skeptical, but optimistic, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the software stuff obviously is a big question. I assume some of the questions that are going to be gathered up by them and by This Week in Pinball more oriented around the webinar they announced. That's going to be very focused on the Zidware stuff because it seems like that's the current priority is to try and resolve the issue with the Zidware customers.
Right.
And I looked at back when they had that first interview with Jeff in This Week in Pinball about the buyout's probably not the right word, but it's sort of like you drop any legal claim action and they'll give you credit towards getting deeproot machines. And it seems pretty obvious that he's trying to take the Zidware ideas and then implement them as deeproot games, the ones at least that weren't built. So we'll see what sort of comes out of all of that. That's its own sort of can of worms. What do you guys think about the designer announcements? I mean, Osler, Nordman, and Norris, these are well-established names from anyone who's familiar with pinball in the 80s and 90s.
I mean, yeah, that's what got me, I hesitate to say excited, but yeah, I mean, I'm like, wait a minute. These are names. So we're in, right? This is a good leadoff hitter. You've let off strong. You've hit a signal. So let's see. I mean, so that's what got my attention. And then we saw that David Thiel's on music. So I'm like, okay, wow. All right. This is good backup. You started strong and you came in stronger. I mean, David Thiel's done music from now until for 10 years? I mean, every game since Pirates.
Everyone loves David's music.
Every game since Pirates. All right. So now I'm in, right? So then we have to calm down. Don't get excited. All right. Stay skeptical. And then that's when the marketing started.
Right. And
that's what brought me back down. That's what brought me back down to reality. So okay. So that's kind of where I am in my limited experience in this sort of thing. Like I said, I'm not a collector. I'm an owner. I'm not, I own games. I would not call myself a collector because I don't hang out in the new inbox pinball drama part of the hobby at all. So I bought low and I kept my games, Demolition Man working for $1,200. So that's kind of where I was, $1,200 American. So that's kind of where I am. Yeah. Okay. Right, I'm kind of not getting rid of it. So I'm sort of looking at this new inbox scene from afar and hoping things go well, because if they go well, that means that increases my opportunity to maybe play these games in a tournament or at someone's house or at a show or something like that. Because, even though my wallet isn't out, we need wallets to be out to buy these games.
Right. And that's a really good point. I mean, the motto of Deeproot Pinball, and I'll probably butcher it. I should have written it out ahead of time. I think it's something along the lines of, a home for every pinball, a pinball for every home, or something along those lines.
Close enough. Which, I think it's right.
Okay. So marketing speak aside, if that's actually the driving vision, then what's the big hurdle? Why do not all pinballs have homes, or not all homes more specifically have pinballs? And the answer is because they're super expensive.
Dollar bills, everybody. Yeah.
So, they take up a ton of space and they cost a lot of money. So,
and they take maintenance. Can't forget all the maintenance.
That's true. You can't. So I'm curious whether or not that's just a catchy sort of line for them, or if they're actually planning to target the lower end of the spectrum. Whereas currently every single company that has come about since Stern Pinball being the only game in town has been, we're going to target the high dollar collector. I mean, everyone sells for more than Stern Pro.
Right.
The only closest exception, and it's not an exception yet, would be Home Pin. They're the only ones that seem to be trying to price around the Pro price, maybe if they end up shipping to the US, I'm not getting into Home Pin. because I don't know enough about them right now. And the reactions to Thunderbirds wasn't the most positive from the people that played it that I last saw. So, well, that may be more of a game number 2 evaluation. But regardless, I'm really curious about what they're doing. I mean, I don't expect a lot here. I don't expect to learn all these innovations and such that are discussed. I'm trying to figure out, though, if they're doing things that are going to reduce the price of the machine. Otherwise, that the slogan doesn't seem accurate, if that makes sense. Doesn't seem like
I totally agree with you, Dennis. Like, once I heard that slogan, I'm thinking, okay, are they going to release games for a sick price that's not even doesn't make sense? Like, are we going to see like a $3,995 game somehow in some fantasy land that might be affordable? I'm like, and how can you do that and still pay everybody?
Right. And so,
math.
and you know, and there's, you know, other things that crop up. I mean, I think in the first interview with This Week in Pinball, the principal behind Deeproot, which is Robert Mueller, not the Robert Mueller, but the Robert Mueller, the and the, so yeah, so many, both attorneys, incidentally, very confusing. And so he, I believe he indicated that they were looking at wanting to penetrate a new demographic for pinball, which makes a lot of sense, I think, from a strategic and entrepreneurial perspective. But then, you know, it starts to raise a lot of the other questions, because it's like, well, you bring in J-Pop, now you bring in Osler, Nordman, and Norris. These names only mean things to pinheads. If you're trying to make pinball a popular game room item for people who aren't really into pinball, they don't care that you got the guy who did Rescue 911. They don't know that. I know plenty of people in our local competitive scene that don't know the designers. They just know, I like this and this and this.
Yeah, like that was me. That's still me. Like, sometimes I still confuse who designs it. I just know the game plays great, and I'll really I know Monster Bash as a Lyman game. Just
right, because he did the rules.
Yeah. Monster Bash is some of Lyman's best work. So that's how I know that game for. You know, that's the same thing with Spider-Man. I know Spider-Man because Lyman saved Spider-Man. Spider-Man was dead, and Lyman decided, you know what? No, we're going to bring it back to life. So I know Steve Ritchie designed it, but when I see Spider-Man, I think Lyman game. So that's,
He saved Walking Dead. He reanimated it.
Oh yeah.
It was really good for the zombie theme. Woo! So extra props to him there.
And that amount of power really makes you wonder about the whole coding thing that's coming up, because there are no names. There is nothing like that. I mean, with how important that is.
It's huge. That was the gap. I was waiting for it, and coded by, okay. And that's the big, and is it as coded by the community? That's sort of the question that was being answered, that was answered there. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah. The whole thing.
Yeah. So, anyway, because of feedback like what you have just provided and what I've heard from others, I am planning to explore that if they're willing to give us a bit more detail on the software side of things. So, and people can always email in if you have questions that you want us to consider asking, eclecticgamerspodcast@gmail.com. I'm open to suggestions. I'm not going to promise I'll ask them. If I don't like the question, it's off. I mean,
right.
It's just how it is. we're not endorsing this company. We don't endorse manufacturers on this show. We don't have relationships with manufacturers on this show. It's just how we've approached it. We are more outside. It's part of the, I guess, a benefit of being one of the smaller podcasts, but you know, we want to be respectful, of course, of everyone's time, and there's probably a lot that just they're not going to be ready to discuss yet, because they clearly have a marketing plan in mind. But I'm hoping we can get a little more footing here, especially, I think, given the issue with all the Zidware customers and trying to win them over. It's very hard to win people over when they don't know what they're getting in exchange for giving up their rights to do something.
Right, because it's call it sort of a trade-in, but it seems like a trade. You're trading in rights for credits.
Right, exactly.
Which is not even rights for dollars. It's rights for credit. So it's not even rights for dollars so I can spend it on anything I want. It's rights for a giant gift card.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So, that may or may not turn out to be anything that you want.
It's a gift card to a store that isn't open yet.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So
for a pinball machine you might not want, maybe.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. I mean, we don't. Now, other than Fire and Brimstone, we don't even know the broad themes. And for me, the themes aren't even. I'm not interested in the themes. I need to see what the game plays like.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, that game like their first game has to come out well. It has to. I mean, you can't have people with credits and then people looking at the game that's available for said credit and saying, "Okay, I don't want this game," and now I have this huge credit that I can't do anything with. So they're kind of putting a whole lot of more pressure on themselves, which I'm guessing they have this confidence. They've come out with a lot of dessert for pinheads like myself. You know, there's the Osler, the Nordman, you know, the Teal, the Norris. That's a whole lot of good tasting things that I'm seeing. But, yeah, like I said, I agree with you. We got to come up with the substance. Like, how do we make people whole with the zipware and do that? So, yeah, that's going to be very interesting. Oh my goodness. That's deep. Well, this is very deep. This is something I've had to reread multiple times just to get it in my head of what's happening from afar as I'm looking at it, knowing that whatever comes out, I know I'm not buying it, but it's just something
right. Well, right. It's the same thing. I mean, I'm always excited to learn about the New Jersey Jack game, even though those are out of my price point. So it's never in the cards, but you know, I see them on location. So it matters to me because I will put money in it and make an operator some cash. If I like it.
That's a similar point, like say about Dialed In. Dialed In is a Lawler game. Lawler is a name only known to pinheads. So, it took that amount of time for Dialed In to become multiple TWIPY award-winning game of the year, but it didn't start out that way.
No.
Of course not. It started out as, what is this game with a phone in it? And we had to tell people, wait, you didn't play the game yet. I know you haven't played the game yet because I'm here at Expo and you're not. So I've played it. It's not bad. Okay, give it a shot. So that's how that started out with. And so that's going to happen here with this company. And they have people with credits that they need. See, that's the thing. Oh my goodness. It's even uncomfortable to talk about. We're going to have people with credits that need to spend credit on this thing that they need to get now. And that game that they need to get now better be good. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I still don't really understand the business decision from a strategy standpoint to take on the Zidware problem. It just seemed like a burden that wasn't necessary, especially now that I see these new names. It's like,
start off brand new. We are a new company. You're gonna
you have Osler, Norris, and Nordman at your disposal. You've got them contracted in, ready to come up with all sorts of games. They've all had varying degrees of success. Some very, very highly ranked games, looking back in the realm of history and the hindsight being 2020 and all of that. You don't need J-pop. And if you don't need J-pop, then you don't need the Zidware headache. And if you don't have the Zidware headache, then you just face the usual hurdles of being a startup in a crowded pinball hobby, which is challenging enough. But, you know, I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm a bureaucrat by training. What do I know? I guess I know taxes. So, hey, you know, maybe I'm off base.
I'm just trying to figure out, and, you know, in part of the marketing, it's this, making pinball is easy. Is it? Okay. I thought it was hard. It seems hard. You're going to make it easy. All right. Let's see it.
You're right. Well, yeah,
let's see this royal flush you got. Let's see it. Let's see this full house you have. Okay.
Deeproot took a lot of heat for that statement. I remember when Tony and I covered the first interview, I actually was somewhat sympathetic to that claim. And I know most people weren't, but I'm coming at it from I suppose a more historical perspective. I remember reading an interview with Harry Williams, and I remember him saying why he got into pinball, because he was trying to find and do and build mechanical games that you could put on location to make money, and he ended up going all in on pinball because it was so easy compared to everything else. Mechanically, it's not a complicated idea. Now, they're more complicated now than they were in the Harry Williams era, but I do think that has become a bit of a crutch for companies when they don't do well, and it's just like, oh, well, it's just really complicated. I think that's more manufacturing's complicated, but I don't think there's anything inherently more complicated about pinball than building any other device that's got a few hundred components in it.
All right, point. Like sort of a crutch. I see what you're saying. Like sort of using that general mentality as a fallback in case delays happen and more delays happen.
Well, exactly. I mean, to say, well, we couldn't figure out how long it would take for us to get our vacuum formed ramps. Why is that any more or less challenging to predict than having your transistors put on any electronic board that exists, be it a pinball board or what goes into those little Super NES classics that no one can find because they didn't make enough of them? Oh, well, we didn't know. Making Nintendos is hard, I guess. I mean, yes, it is, but it isn't. It's not.
Yes. Artificially limiting quantity is hard.
Yeah, right. Well, poor
it's
Nintendo.
Real hard.
I'll never understand Nintendo's business decisions, but anyway, so they're challenges, they're manufacturing challenges, but I don't think there's anything inherently more challenging about pinball than anything else that has that amount of sophistication in it. And there's a lot of things that are sophisticated and built now in competitive. So in that regard, I'm always a little like, it's a bit of a crutch, it's just too easy to roll off the tongue, and that would be okay, except a lot of the community just kind of accepts it now. I mean, people who are willing to wait 3 years to get games, that's not healthy. It's not healthy for the community. In my view.
Once you've waited that long, you're kind of pot committed at that point. So
right, and that's where you'll see these discussions regarding Dutch pinball or highway pinball, and it's like you can't really get your money back, so you have to cheer for them to succeed. But from a survival of the business fittest perspective, these businesses should not be around anymore. They've already failed. They're
taking money out of the scene that could have gone somewhere else.
Exactly.
And now everybody has this sunk cost. I guess that's what it is. I think it's sunk costs that they've already invested, and they have these years of this money that they could have invested in a 401k, something. I don't know.
Sure, right. No, anything. And an IRA, or just put it in a savings account. You'd have gotten something. You'd gotten 0.58% interest or something.
Got something with it.
and let's take, Zidware here. I mean, because that's the one that's relevant to deeproot. I mean, if, in my view, and I'm speculating quite a bit, but if J-pop had just recognized at whatever point it was recognizable that this is not working, I've spent too much money and accomplished too little with it, had Zidware declare bankruptcy, paid back all of these creditors pennies on the dollar, I feel, would have been done. He could have gone to another company if they were willing to hire him, and people would have let that go because he would have failed in the right way.
It would have been clean.
Right. It would have been
cleaner.
Yeah. Cleaner. I mean, people would have been bitter. People would have been mad. I gave you, $15,000 for Magic Girl, and I only ended up getting back, $7,000 or whatever, however it would work out. But the point being that there would have been that whole legal redress done instead of this kind of, I'm still making it. I mean, that, I guess, is the official stance that the company is, it's a dissolved corporation last I looked in Illinois, but in theory, it's like, well, we're still trying to accomplish the games. And then you have American Pinball come in, and then you have people being, well, we really need American Pinball to succeed so that we can get our Magic Girls. And then people got the Magic Girls, and it was just a box of lights in almost truly literal fashion.
Man, as soon as I heard that pattern, I was like, okay, pyramid scheme. We need this to do this in order so that this can do this to pay back the people from this. Rob Peter to pay Paul. I'm like, no, we're not. No. Oh, wait. That's because that's what that sounds like. That's just what it sounds like, a multi-level marketing thing. Like, I got to get 3 people to buy my Avon so that I can promote myself to the higher level of the company, and they can get 7 people to buy so they can give me. I mean, that's what
so you
totally
can get that pink Cadillac. Or I guess that's Mary Kay, but yeah. So anyway, I mean, that's my. So yeah, there's a right way to fail, and there's a wrong way to fail, and I think if the right way to fail had been done, this wouldn't be nearly as controversial. But because the way it ended up, you get these weird divisions where there are still people that they're holding out hope because they have no other hope in their view of getting any money or anything, and so. There'll be some that are, and I've even seen it on Pinside. We see every opinion on Pinside, but where there are people that are, cheering on. They want deeproot to be successful because they see it as the only way. I mean, credit in deeproot's better than nothing from Zidware. I totally understand the perspective, but they should never have been in this boat. But here we are in the boat. Yeah, the boat has the holes in it.
The boat's here. It is. The boat has a hole. Are we going to patch it up? What are we going to do?
I don't know. And every time you think the boat's going to sink, someone else comes with a new patch kit, and you think, maybe now it's okay.
This might be good.
Might be good. And I'm not saying it won't be okay this time. It might be, but the boat should have just sank a long time ago.
And that's what it looks like. It looks like it might be okay every time.
That's right.
It's like, come on, it might be okay this time.
Pentasia,
Yep.
and then American Pinball, and now deeproot. And I don't know if you. It's possible. I mean, I see the path to it being okay. It's just. I think
like
it would have saved a lot of heartache and a lot of money that got tied up that shouldn't have been tied up. Had the boat been allowed to sink and everyone just used their life vests, it would have been better. I think
that's true. Yeah, it's sort of like it's kind of like that failure you get on the midterm as opposed to that failure you get at the end of the school year. That sort of languishes through the summer, and then you have to go to summer school because you failed. And, meanwhile, the failure in the beginning, in the middle of the school year, you can recover from by that time and get past it. It could work out this time. Come on, 7. Come on, 11. Come on. That's what it feels like to me, looking from afar and, being, I guess, not glad, but satisfied to not have any money invested.
Oh yeah.
In any of this, hate to even say that, but that's what it feels like.
I think at this point, that's the biggest rule in pinball is don't invest any money unless you're getting something right bloody now.
That's
right.
It.
Well, and that's where deeproot is playing it smart. And they've always been very clear that they're not interested in pre-order money.
Which is the safest thing for anybody trying to get into the system now after so many burns has to do. It's just the only way because nobody's going to take them seriously otherwise.
Yeah, you can't ask for pre-order money now and be taking at least not a huge amount. I mean, it better be a deposit. You can't ask for the whole thing.
Right, deposits and stuff. I mean, there are things.
Yeah.
There are things that make sense for companies to do,
Mm-hmm.
and people aren't going around faulting Spooky Pinball for asking for a non-refundable deposit at this stage.
Right. No. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because they've produced. So.
Yes, it helps a lot when you've made something. I mean, and that's part of the reason while the difficulties of Highway are more difficult for people to accept, I think, is because they put out Full Throttle first. So you thought you had an established manufacturer. And then Alien has struggled to ship units. And now that they're shipping, they're struggling on quality. It's an interesting
it seems like we
time.
had it. Seems like this is good. And all of a sudden this is not quite as good, but it's looking good. The software's good. The code's good. Looks great. Looks fun. Sounds great. And yes, I can choose it. Like they're not quite there. I can hear you. It's sort of not a bait and switch, but a different sort of switch there. It's like we had it and then we sort of didn't, but we kind of do. Come on 7, come on 11,
Right,
I mean, that's what it is, right?
Right. And the issue, in part, besides the difficulties for those that are funding tied up that they can't get back, which is the case for both Dutch and Highway for some people involved, it's the strength there is people have played those games, and there are people who like how both of those games play.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're okay games.
Yeah,
hey.
You've got a product that a lot of people
Right.
view as acceptable to good to great, depending on their opinion, and that helps in the sense that, like if it had been Predator still at this stage, which I had never heard played well by anyone who ever got to try it, the song might be a little different. It stings more when you actually think the game is good.
Yeah, especially people just want their stuff. Just give people their stuff. Can we start fresh somehow? We can't, but it just feels so uncomfortable. The amount of money that's sort of influx. It's just such influx. There's so much empathy for these people who saw a product that they really liked and want, especially Alien. I mean, Alien's like a dream theme for some people.
I love that theme. I love the theme.
It's a great theme. But as soon as that came out and it was like, what? No Ripley? That was like the what? No gravy of that game. It's like, wait, there's Alien, but there's no.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't eat plain mashed potatoes. So.
Right. But the gravy, oh, come on. Next time, remember the gravy. I mean, come on. I'll wait.
All right. Well, did we have anything else we wanted to touch on Deeproot?
No, other than good interview, I think, have a good luck and good interview, I wish you that.
Yeah. Well, Jeff's was great. I'm hoping it goes well. And we'll probably get that recorded. It might just be me with him, depending on the schedule. But because we're not going to record it the day of the podcast, it'll probably be a day or two ahead of time, and I'll drop it in the next episode. But since he picked the date that worked for him based around our our schedule, because we don't really do special episodes very often unless I have to do something in person, like when Nick was in town for the EM talk. We make exceptions for fun things like that. But
all of a sudden you break in the middle of the week, like, this is an Eclectic Gamer special report. Robert Mueller from Deeproot said this thing.
Okay, well, my last news item in pinball is also regarding this week in pinball. We have to do what all the other podcasts have done. We have to talk about the TWIPY award results because we mentioned the TWIPY. So now, we have to close that loop or else it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Link to the results are in the show notes if people want to see like the breakouts and everything. But first, in terms of the non-game categories, these were the write-in categories. Just run through those real quick. Best, or the favorite new mod was the Pin Stadium lighting. The favorite YouTube channel was Straight Down the Middle, a pinball show. Favorite Twitch streamer was Dead Flip. And the favorite podcast was Canada's Pinball Podcast. So congratulations to all of those people.
No real surprises there.
No, I don't think
really.
So. You can. There are a lot of submissions. Like if you look at the mod stuff, it makes sense to me that Pin Stadium would win. It probably won pretty handily, would be my guess, because it works for pretty much everything, whereas a lot of mods are game specific. For example, podcast wise, this old, it was like almost every pinball podcast was in there. This old pinball podcast even was nominated, and that hasn't been on the air since 2010. Right. Though, incidentally, I do want to highly recommend, if you like pinball interviews, it is worth, if you want to hear historic ones, because they have a number of really good interviews with a lot of people who are dead now. So if you're interested in classic pinball, there is a lot of information to be had in the top cast. So I just wanted to, again, they don't care anymore because they've been off the air almost a decade, but it does have some, I've relied on it for some of those articles I've written for Pinball News. It's like, if I can't find something in writing, it might be in audio under the auspices of their recordings, because they really went into a lot of stuff. So it was a really good show. But I want to talk about game categories because it's far more, it's far more in our wheelhouse than the write-in stuff. So here were the winners. I guess I'll just hit each category and we can talk about it.
Right.
Best animations and display went to Dialed In. Steve, did you agree with that? Does that make sense to you?
I did vote for Dialed In. I'm trying to remember my votes, but I think.
Oh yeah, I can barely remember yesterday.
I did vote for Dialed In, basically because of the SimCity format appealed to me. And when I'm not playing the game, I get to enjoy how every piece of the city sort of interacts with where you are. So if you're in the bumpers, it goes to the bumpers. If you're getting attacked by the theater, it shows a theater attack coming at you, like the EMP. It shows that. It shows the aliens attacking you in certain areas of the world. So yeah, that's what got my votes. SimCity Cities Excel format got me on that. So that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one who gets the SimCity vibe out of that game.
Yeah, it does have it. Oh, I'm fine with Dialed In. I don't even remember who I voted for on this one. I think I either voted Dialed In or Aerosmith on this one.
I think I voted Batman 66, actually. I really liked the clip integration, but Dialed In, I totally get. It's visually,
and it's fine. It was good. It was solid. Yeah.
So okay, so we all think that it's a worthy winner.
Yep.
All right, best light show, Total Nuclear Annihilation, got that.
In a blowout.
Yeah, and I did vote for it for this one.
I did as well. Yeah, I did as well. And just seeing it on streams, just to see, and that's the best place to see it. The light show is really when you have that top down view and you can see the attract mode with the different patterns and the way the lights come in that Tetris format. That's a cute one. Mm-hmm. And then you have the reactor that spins when the lights spin around it when it's active and it really draws you in. I mean, even more than Dialed In. Like Dialed In gets respect because more of the light show is functional. I mean, like there's a color for every mode and it tells you where to go and the colors are pretty clear and it's great, but Total Nuclear Annihilation, the way it did the light show and it won me over. And any opportunity I get to play it, just to even look at it, I'll just spend a couple of seconds to look at it before I can play it, before I get hurried up to hurry play it because there's a line 8 miles deep to play the game anywhere you're at. So.
Yeah.
That's how it was at Texas last year when it was there. We only had to play it a couple of times because there was just such a line for it.
And that was still the Whitewood point
I know.
before the manufacturing had been announced. Best theme. This is not theme integration, but just the best theme. Right. Star Wars won that.
Star Wars won that, and Batman 66 did not come second, which is, because I was thinking maybe the best theme question was confused by people. I don't know. Because
I think
Star Wars is the correct, it's almost the correct answer, isn't it? I mean, it's not even a poll.
Now I feel a little bad because I obviously chose the wrong answer.
Yeah, it's almost
under your
right.
scenario.
Like it's almost.
I agree with you that Star Wars is the correct answer. For me, it was a little too correct because it's such a timeless theme and it's been done so many times. So I did actually say Guardians because I thought it was more timely. It was a surprise major movie hit. And so I did cast my vote to Guardians because I thought it was a little more clever. Like Star Wars is the obvious best theme. So but the question wasn't what is the best theme that isn't too clever. So I guess I did sort of fail, but oh, well, as I shrug here, that no one can see. Tony, did you vote Star Wars?
I actually think I went with Guardians as well.
I've corrupted
but I can't remember
Good.
if that was theme or maybe it was theme integration.
And that was part of it, because it's like you see theme and then at the bottom you see theme integration, and then I bet some people went back up to theme again and re-answered that question.
I just can't remember for sure. I mean, I've got no problem with Star Wars. Star Wars is an obvious answer because that's a theme that everybody loves. It's huge right now. It's been huge since the 70s, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon.
The best toys and gimmicks. That one went to Dialed In. Steve, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess because Dialed In has everything in it and lots of hidden things in it, and how many take every Lawler toy ever and mix it together and put it in a game and make it work. You got multiple magnets, you got a diverter, you got the quantum mechanic in the upper right who's sort of acting like I'm not Thing from the Addams Family, but I am. I'm better, okay. And then you have the multiple magnets, under the playfield. I'm not the Power. I'm not that, but it works better. Then you have the drones on the right side saying, I'm not the Idol from Ripley's. I'm not. But it works. So you mix it all together and it works great. So yeah, I understand that win. And I mean, you have Aerosmith with Aerosmith with Jackie's Toy Box is awesome. It's the mix of the NBA free throw into a Indiana Jones arc that works 98% of the time. It's great. Right? It's fantastic. But I can see why Dialed In win, and I think I did vote for Dialed In.
Yeah, I think I voted Aerosmith on this, but yeah, the toys on Dialed In are obvious, so it made sense to me that it got the win. Tony, do you remember what you...
If I remember right, I went with Dialed In because between, like's already been said, the drones and the phone and all the little call outs and this and that and stuff, and like the selfie mode gimmick, which in tournament play when you watch is the most boring gimmick ever because you just see a person staring and every selfie is identical because they don't move because that would be wasted energy.
Angry. Serious.
But when you watch people who are just casually playing it, especially when you're at the bar and they've had 3 or 4 drinks and it pops up and they're laughing and their friends are jumping in to photobomb it and it's flashing around, it's good. I think it definitely works, especially for a game en route type thing.
Okay, next one is best theme integration. The winner was Dialed In.
Of course it is.
I don't know.
I mean, just going for a quick moment back to the toys and gimmicks. The phone is the big, and that's what integrates you into the theme. You have the phone. Yes. Is it a game about a phone? No, it's a game about disasters, but that phone, right? The way you have the multiple screens, the phone is your iPhone / your Droid phone, and the way it integrated, how it's giving you text messages, showing you the time that's left and how many shots you need. And then, and then that's just part of it. The way it's all put together. Dialed In is, it's not an obvious winner, but it's pretty close. That was an easy vote for me. That was really easy.
Okay. I did not vote for Dialed In. I believe I voted for Batman 66.
Understandable.
And my issue was, and this is so unfair to Dialed In, it's unfair to Total Nuclear Annihilation as well, but it's not right to do theme integration on an original theme because it's whatever they say. They just say, no, it's integrated perfectly. I created this theme. I'm Waller and I know what I'm doing. So shut up, Dennis. You're wrong. Yeah, I won't stand for
Pat
it.
Lawler. That's the Dialed In theme is Pat Lawler.
Yes.
It's not even Disaster. It's Pat Lawler. Okay.
So,
and he did it perfect.
Pat Lawler, the game.
Pat Lawler, the game.
Sure. They would have moved more units if they called it that. But but for me, I interpreted it a little bit differently, and to me, I had to take it as a question of working within the confines, the constraints of a license. That's how I chose to interpret it, and so that meant I had to roll out the original themes, and I thought Batman best executed on what would have been conditions placed upon the artist. So that's how I did it.
So maybe that question will be reformatted next year on next year's TWIPY round 2. I mean, because there is a confusion between those two. So like the one we're gonna go up with next, not to really blow the lead here, but the next one is gonna be the sound and call outs, and there's a little bit of confusion there, but it just seems like there may be a little bit of reformatting next year, maybe to clear some of this confusion.
I wonder if they shifted best theme to best license and best theme integration to best license integration just to make it very clear.
Well, but Jeff may not have meant for best license integration. That may just be, I mean, Dialed In won, so obviously most people didn't see it the way I saw it. I may just have seen it wrong. It is possible.
You're wrong.
No, wait.
No,
it's not possible at all.
This is a poll. It's an opinion. It's not wrong.
Yeah, it's just my opinion. Well, except for Steve, back where you said where Star Wars was the objectively right
answer. That is correct. That is objective. That is objectively correct.
All right, so
I definitely can see the bit of confusion here. I mean, because what theme is Total Nuclear Annihilation? What Scott said it was. It's the 80s. It's Outrunners. Like, is that what it is? Yeah, but it works enough. So, is it because the game is so good? It won votes it wasn't even supposed to get. So
yeah, exactly. So let's do sound and callouts. Total Nuclear Annihilation did win that. The controversy, as much controversy as there can be with a fun awards ceremony, is that sound and callouts was combined. But I guess so. We can talk about that, but Tony, what do you think of this category going to TNA? I'm
pretty certain that's who I voted for originally. In it as it's called, as it's put together, I went with Total Nuclear Annihilation.
So did I.
It was that or Aerosmith, but I'm pretty certain it was TNA because I went with the combined. I think if it was split, it was best sound and best callouts, I would have probably for best sound gone for like Aerosmith. But no, I think I went with TNA overall because it works. It works as a package.
Mm-hmm. Steve, what are your thoughts on this?
See, now I have to inject a bit of poison in here because now thinking best sound and callouts, Total Nuclear Annihilation is best music ever. I mean, I bought that soundtrack the day I bought the FLAC version, and I listened to it on the way down to Pinholics tournament yesterday. It's awesome. But that's not even up here. So you're talking about best music or best sound? Is sound effects or, I mean, because Total Annihilation's music is awesome. The sound is amazingly, powerful. The call outs are standard, but they get the job done. And then you have Dialed In, which, the music is catchy. That's I hum that music all the time. Yeah, I got a new phone and I don't know what to do with it. That's the song. But I hear, some of the call outs are lackluster, but why are they lackluster? Cause it's a news show. You're listening to Fox News, CNN. This just in, jackpot just happened. That's what it sounds like. That's what it is. Right. I'm Mike Banter, and this is a jackpot. I mean, so that makes sense. That didn't really take it away. That didn't lose Dialed In's vote for me, even though I did vote for Total Nuclear Annihilation. That was, because when I saw best sound and callouts, Total Nuclear Annihilation's music won it for me.
It was the same for me. I took it as, I interpreted it as best music, and that's why I chose to go with it. So
because it's not just the music is okay. It's the way the music is integrated into the game. You have
like that bass drop as soon as you plunge, and
And the multi-ball soundtrack is different from the single ball. Like the multi-ball is the full version. And then when you go back to single ball and you're trying to take out the reactor, you go to this more muted version of it. So you can tell you're doing something not as good as you could be doing. So you go back into multi-ball and everything's back powerful again. You know, you're ready to score huge and get supers. And then when you come back out, it's a little bit more fast. It's still powerful. I mean, as passive as a powerful trance-based soundtrack can be, but it's different. And with a track for each reactor, and now that I've heard each of the reactor sounds, so it's like a half spoiler, you know, with as much music as important to me to play a game. Like hearing the soundtrack of a game before I get to it is sort of a spoiler for me, but not really, because I still don't know what's kind of going to happen. But yeah, that's the best sound integrated best music for me, and that's what marked the poll for Total Nuclear Annihilation for me, and got it.
Mm-hmm. All right, next one up was Best Code and Rules. Dialed In won that. That was my vote.
That's mine. Yeah, it's a runaway. It's got
yeah,
it's a runaway.
Best Playfield Geometry and Layout. Dialed In won that. I don't believe that was my vote, but I understand that one winning. I think I actually went with Guardians for this.
I actually went with TNA for this one.
I think I chose Dialed In. I think I was lured in by the flow of the combos. You know, if you can get the left and right ramp theater, upper left ramp, come back down, hit the theater again, into the
it's good. That. It's good.
Yeah, I think that's what swayed me. Yeah, I think I did go for Dialed In on that.
Okay. Best Artwork went to Aerosmith. I believe that was my vote. It was between that and Guardians for me, and I think I liked the stylized version that Dirty Donnie did with Aerosmith the most. So,
best artwork was my hardest vote, because when I play pinball, the artwork fades away.
Yep.
I have to get to like level 0 where I care about the art on the game. And there are things that I miss on games because I have a bit of playfield blindness. Well, before I know a feature is there, I won't even see it because I literally really don't see it if I'm getting really into the game. So I had to fall back on, okay, which artwork really got my attention more often than not? And it went to Aerosmith. I remember voting for Aerosmith with Guardians as sort of like a second, so I can understand the closest vote there. And now that the Guardians is more local to me, I can see that, yeah, the Guardians art is very good. But I can see that, you know, the Aerosmith artwork, you know, did win it as much as I cared about it. I mean, right. You know, the only thing about the Aerosmith, I guess, artwork, which I guess would be an incorrect assumption on not assumption, but an incorrect path on my part, was that what dinged me for Aerosmith and hesitated me is the fact that I sometimes can't read the scores on a display because the font's so strange.
Right. But that falls under best animations and display.
That's best animation. So then I had to no, that's animations. Okay, don't separate that. Okay, separate that out. We're talking about just artwork on the playfield itself. Okay, so that's what got it for me.
Tony, what was your pick?
Aerosmith.
Okay. And the big finale was Game of the Year. In no way shocking at all. Dialed In. I don't think it was shocking at all. That's what I went with, was Dialed In.
Yep, Dialed In, Total Destruction. I mean, and the Total Nuclear Annihilation definitely showing up, you know.
Now, I think that was Tony's pick, wasn't it, Tony?
Yeah, I picked Total Nuclear Annihilation.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, here's the amazing thing for the whole thing to me, and for all of this, is 1 and 2, not all of it, but for the vast majority of it, 1 and 2 throughout have been Dialed In, made by JJP, Lawler, huge, well-known, and the number 2 or number 1 that's been fighting it the whole way is a homebrew. That's just amazing, too.
Huge. Yep. Huge. I mean, huge respect to Scott Denisi on that. Huge.
I mean, I've said it so many times, so I'm sure people are tired of hearing it, but I fell in love with TNA back when it was just Total Annihilation at Texas last year. It was my favorite game of the show. It's the game I've been most interested in and following since the show. It's just amazing.
Yeah, well, I looked at the whitewood and I said, "Are you selling this? And, are you making this whitewood? Like, just send it out like this." Was back when he had the numbers written in marker on the reactors.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you selling this? I mean, how much is it? because I might want it. I mean,
I would have been perfectly happy if they'd put no art on that game and they just sent out woods of that game. I'd have been happy. I could have played that game that whole weekend. I could have played that game. I mean, everything else there, and I would have been happy just playing that game over and over again. And that was on the whitewood. I mean, just the way it plays, it's amazing.
All right. Well, those are the TWIPY awards. And as I noted, show notes have a link so people can go and read and see the breakouts of all those games and how they did on each category. But now we're going to transition into competitive pinball talk. Dun, 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 dun. Steve's forte. You have carte blanche, Steve, to go into anything you want. But what I wanted to open with is an expression I see you share on Fun with Bonus a lot, which is no one wants to talk about competitive pinball, followed by a link to something talking greatly about competitive pinball. So it's clearly a running joke, but grounded, I'm sure, in some form of reality. So I just sort of wanted to get your thoughts about people and the talking of competitive pinball, just in a broad sense.
All right. Well, yeah, it is based on a bit of reality, and it's kind of a meme I was attempting to force, as much as I could. Really, I was just I was noticing that, really, to tell you where the origin of this, where my thoughts coming from, is, recent TWIPY award winning podcast, Canada's Pinball Podcast, mentioned that no one wants to talk about competitive pinball. And so I listen to a show and I think, oh, really? I talk about competitive pinball a lot. I mean, so and the people I hang out with like to talk about it, but maybe that's why it's just because that's the people I hang out with, the tournament players. But, then it got deeper, like, okay, tournament players are going to complain about the randomness in this and the randomness in that. And, so then it just became, well, I'm going to notice, I'm really going to start noticing when people talk about competitive pinball, and then I'm just going to repost it with the phrase, no one wants to talk about competitive pinball. And then all of a sudden, and so it becomes that thing where once you look for something, you start noticing it more. And all of a sudden I was like, well, wait a minute. Now Forbes has a link to competitive pinball. And now NBC News has done a feature on competitive pinball. And now, wait a minute. People are really talking about competitive pinball. So now it just became, as a running joke as far as I could run with it, that, yeah, so no one wants to talk about competitive pinball except state championships by every article writer who wants a quick feature. And I realize, sometimes some of these features are, like the article must be written that day, if you understand. Like everybody has to write an article. So you have to write the article to get the clicks, to get the favorites and the likes and the social currency to keep your ranking up and whatever that is over there, that they do. So part of it is that, but it's still being written. So that doesn't change the fact that people are talking about a whole bunch of I just saw a whole bunch of state championship links that I'm just linking on my site because I want to keep a record of every time I see one that happens. And so that's kind of where it comes from. And so I just like noticing, who's covering it, what radio station / TV station / newspaper is covering it, which ones don't fall for the lazy trap of using the Who's Pinball Wizard as a music bed underneath it. Extra points if they don't do that. If they do that, that's one CinemaSin for doing that. Subtract the point. But if they can get past it without falling into that trope, extra points for that. Good. Extra journalism points for you. So that's kind of where that comes from. Okay. So it's definitely a fun thing that I've tried to develop, and I've heard, other people, other podcasts use it, like, Slam Tilt just picked it up, Slam Tilt podcast, noticed that I was doing that. And so they start doing that too when they talk about competitive pinball, and, Head to Head talks about it sometimes. And I just want to make it clear, like, I don't mind if people don't talk about it. It's just the denigration of competitive pinball, and that was that part that got me. That's part that got me. It's like, wait a minute. It's interesting. I mean, I don't denigrate people who talk about playfield art as the most important thing ever, and people buying things based on the art and not caring about how it plays and things like that, which is especially a thing in the new inbox pinball drama section of the hobby. That's definitely, I'm more interested in the code.
So
how's it shoot?
You weren't caught up in Gradient Gate with Game of Thrones.
I mean, I'd heard of that, and then I cleared that right from my mind. I'm like, okay, fine. The art is bad on Game of Thrones. Okay. I was more concerned with the random numbers that were happening when you cashed in the super jackpot on Hand of the King. That's right. I was more concerned with that than the fact that, apparently Star Wars art is bad because it's cookie cutter Photoshop, apparently, because with me, Star Wars LE is less fun to play because of that huge supercharger ramp that's in the way. Mm-hmm. I'd rather play the Pro because it's out of my way. Things like that. So that was where this sort of came from. It's not as bad as it was now, but just sort of the shadow denigration of the opinions of tournament players, I guess, is a way I could sum it up in a elevator pitch.
Okay.
That way. And so that's where the meme came from. And then I just decided to have as much fun with it as I could.
All right. Well, it makes sense now. It makes sense to me now. And yeah, we do hear on a lot of podcasts now, tournament play getting discussed. I think to mixed effect. You're seeing a lot more discussion in mainstream media, which is great. I think the key thing, especially in an audio format, since that's what Tony and I do, and we don't tend to talk as much about our tournament stuff as I hear on other podcasts. Part of that is we're not as good at players, and part of it is I always think it's important to remember to try and that your goal in the audio format is to tell a good story. So if your tournament thing is told in a compelling way, it's fun to listen to. And if it's told in a terrible way, it is boring to listen to. So
there are definitely bad ways to tell a story. Not telling a bad beat story is definitely, there are bad beat stories in poker in the same sort of ways in pinball. So it's different ways. There's some good bad beat storytellers and not. I mean, have you've been to Pinburg? That's the bad beat. The Pinburg tournament. That Saturday is the bad beat capital of the world because everybody's thinking, oh man, if I had made this shot in round 7, I'd have had enough points to advance to the final or whatever. Or if the ball didn't crawl over 3 different outlanes on Ghostbusters, then I would have had enough points to make it into the beat of it, so it's kind of like that. And everybody's, with their sob stories and how they could have made it and things. So, but yeah, everybody has a bad beat story except the winner. So that's sort of standard. Only the winner has the not bad beat story. They have them, but it's not because they won. So that's also part of it. So I definitely understand that. But again, it's not necessary for a show to concentrate on competitive pinball. Just, I'd appreciate the lack of denigration of it. Oh, that's all.
Totally understand.
Or not mentioning it at all is fine. That's why I listen to all sorts of shows when I can catch them. And not all of them are competitive based, and some of them just talk about drama. I mean, I don't play a lot of video games often, but I like listening to Giant Bomb. Right? So it's right. So it's that way. It's the way they tell stories. So that's part of it. So I can definitely understand.
Well, it could just be the whole way. Some people, when how the stories are told, when you get the people who are just reciting straight facts, I had this score and I did this and I hit that ramp and then I got this score. Right. So I won that game. Now I get to, that's
bad. I want to know why you made this decision versus this. How did you feel about it? Were you nervous? Was somebody breathing down your neck? Was somebody hovering behind you? Was somebody trying to distract you? How did you block them out? Things like that.
Now, it does impress me that those people can remember that, because sometimes I don't remember the game I played 4 games ago. I said, I don't even remember the machine. It's like, I think I played X-Men. Was it X-Men? Mm-hmm. Let's see. We played Funhouse and then X-Men. And then, so unless something really jumps out and makes it stick out, that stuff just vanishes. So people who can, I hit this and this was what I was thinking. This was the shot I was aiming. And that was the first game I played of the day. Wasn't this a 4-day tournament? Yeah, that was the first game of the first day. Wow.
It's like, how did you remember that? Yeah, I guess it's just different sides of the brain working. Like, for example, like I just told you, I don't even know what some playfield art looks like right now. And I played the game constantly because the playfield art just literally vanishes. It's like when I'm doing well on a game, I'm getting into the world of the game. The art fades away and I'm sort of inside the game. Like if I'm playing dialed in really well and I'm feeling the flow of it, if you can imagine, I don't even know how I can explain this. You know how Cities Excel, you can put in a mod that gives you that 3D mode that you get into the city.
I'm not
Sort
familiar
of like
with
I
that.
did not know that, but now I've got to look it up.
Yeah, sort of like that. So like it becomes like I get drawn in to where I'm kind of everything's sort of magnified, and I'm not even looking at the flippers or anything. I know where the shots are. I'm in the city. I'm hitting the quantum electritude. I'm being attacked. I know I'm attacking the corporation. They're attacking me, and and it just takes a bunch of misses by me to get out of it. But it's sort of like that, and so that's why the art fades away. And so I guess it's just different sides of the brain working for different people,
Speaking of podcasts that are focused on competitive pinball, you host one with Nate Shivers and Josh Sharp called Wide World of Pinball. But according to my calculations, which are impeccable, it's been over a year since there's been an episode.
Yeah, we have a scheduling. I guess it'll be a scheduling problem. I mean, I'd be willing to do it, but I need like a bunch of 5-hour energies in order for me to fit the correct time that we need to fit Nate in, because Nate's in Amsterdam. Okay. When Nate was in America, it was fine. I could be the late guy, get my 5-hour energy done, get started at 9:30 or 10 o'clock and PM and go. But now that he's over there, it doesn't quite work out as well. And, the instant that I have any sort of inkling of trying to start something up myself, I start thinking, no, you're crazy. You'd have to be the one that's entertaining all the time, and then you'd have to do the editing. No, stop it. And then hopefully some nice people such as yourself will invite me on a show, and then that's good. And I don't have to do any editing.
Yeah, that's true.
I have no editing. I can just come in and talk and have fun, and then wait for the show to come out, and then it's awesome. And then then that feeling of wanting to have a show sort of goes away for a bit.
Yeah, makes sense. And editing is indeed the suckiest part. So let's move on to one of our competitive topics. IFPA, International Flipper Pinball Association, they score through what's commonly referred to as the Whopper system. Implementation of the $1 fee went into effect at the start of this year. What are your thoughts on it, especially now that it's been in play? Granted, it's not been in play for a month yet, so we don't have a lot to go off of, but.
Yeah, we don't have a lot to go on, but I mean, as far as the dollar, I wasn't minding the dollar, even as prolific as I am with playing in tournaments. I was fine with saying, okay, I might contribute $100 to this thing with as many tournaments. Like out of $50, $100, I might contribute to this. So I was fine with it, but I was, interested to see what other people were thinking about it. And it was definitely, I mean, mixed isn't even the word for it, but it seems like that mixedness has calmed down a bit on that. I mean, as far as, the tournaments I've been in have integrated the dollar into the fee, or, say, okay, we have this, the fee was this, it was 25. Now it's 25, but $1 of it is going into the IFPA and the rest is going into the percentage or however we were doing it. So it seems like it's being integrated well and seamlessly enough as far as what, as far as what I've experienced. And, I don't know. I figure since I was coming on Eclectic Gamers, and Eclectic Gamers is a very, I would say data driven and exacting and a podcast. I wanted to do some journalism. So I did some journalism, and I asked Josh Sharp that, I was going to be on Eclectic Gamers. We might talk about the dollar fee. Do you have any info you might want to share about, positive or negative effects the fee has had on the number of tournaments compared to this January last year, something like that? And what was the general tone about it? And, I'm paraphrasing what he said, but I have the communication in front of me saying that, he said that he hasn't seen the huge drop off that he was expecting to see, that has been consistent there. And he said that, he's already heard of weekly events that started off the year as not IFPA dollar, already jumping back in with the dollar. And so he says it sounds like the attendance drop put them back into the dollar. I mean, again, we only have less than a month to go by this. And part of this is the fact that the state tournaments were this month, so that may skew the numbers a bit, but it seems like that it's not really affecting them so far. We'll see once we get to June-ish, as the tournaments start rearing up, what happens. But so far, it doesn't seem like it's really affected as much. I mean, asked him if anything else he wanted to share. He was just saying that he heard from tournament directors that the tournament manager system that they're using to integrate, the new system with the dollars and the how to put in information is really working well. Shout outs to Brian Shepard, an unsung hero of the WAPA system, programming it and everything. So he's saying that so far it's a good idea.
Okay.
That's from him. So
yeah, it was for, we only have hit one tournament so far this year, but we already knew what the plan was in the Kansas City area. It was to integrate into the existing fees, which essentially made it seamless. The winners, people like you who are always cashing, have noticed a slight drop off on the totals of their accumulation, but the overall impact has not, it's not visible to most of the players. So that's gone fine. I was going to pull numbers, and then when I saw that the SCS was in January instead of February, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to know anything till March. So
right. Yeah, because that boosts it by like 40 events for this month, right? Because there's like 40 some odd states and provinces involved, but then that would take away 40 some odd from February.
Right. So we really need to combine the two to have any sort of parity. So we're going to have to wait a little bit, but I thought I'd bring it up since I had you on at the time. So,
but I'm fine with it. Just personally, again, just speaking for myself because that's all I can speak for. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. It seems to be working okay. And hopefully we'll see what the prize pools end up being. I'm sure places like New York is going to be ridiculous and ridiculous amount, and the Portland area, Portlandia is going to be a huge area as far as the prize pool, and maybe it'll get up to a point where it's to get it. I agree with what Josh also said to me is that we're trying to get to a point where to get some outside sponsorship income so that we're not playing for our own money, we're playing for someone else's money. So that's the ultimate goal. And so I can even see that long-term path down the road of what that could be. And so this is just the first, step 0.5 on the way of maybe getting to that point where there's a sponsorship that removes the dollar out or something. But we need something to go by to get attention because, a lot of those articles that are written and those news stories that are made are based on the fact that such and such is for such and such a money. I watched $100,000 darts because it was $100,000, and darts was, why am I watching darts? Oh, it's for $100,000 and it's on ESPN. Now, why is it on ESPN? Is it on ESPN because it's $100,000 or is it the $100,000 came first and then the ESPN? It's like, where was the catch-22 that broke through that? To get it on, so how do we get on the Ocho? How do we,
yes.
How do we get on the Ocho? I don't know. Thus ends the journalism. So there you go, my part.
Okay, well then let's go ahead and we'll move into a topic that is obviously near and dear to you, and I can say that because I saw one whole article about it. Yes.
Yeah, this was an article that I started writing and it just kept going.
And it was really good. I like this. I want this topic because it's something that Tony and I have not ever spent any time on this podcast talking about. And that is fatal rule set flaws and how to fix them. And so for those that don't know, and we have a link to Fun with Bonus in the show notes, so people go check it out if you have not, but surely you all have. And Steve has a piece up about Theater of Magic specifically. And it's talking about the problem with that game when it comes to a high-level competitive standpoint and what could be done to improve upon that. And that's something that's applicable to a lot of different games, and depending when it needs to apply. Some of these exploits are easier than others to take advantage of, or they're not even exploits at all. It's just weird rule features. But do you want to go ahead and start with just sort of summarizing the issue with Theater of Magic? Because that's probably as good of a game to start with as any.
It really is. The Theater of Magic is one of those games that I really like to play as long as I totally ignore the way I'm supposed to play it. Okay. You're supposed, when you play a Theater of Magic, you want to do all the illusions and start multi-ball and get all the jackpots and get to the grand finale and get your huge score. But what ends up happening during tournaments is you shoot the left orbit all the time. I mean, and why? Well, because A, it's an easy shot to hit. Also, you get a theater letter. If you get a theater letter, that helps you get to the hurry up, which scores a lot of points. And it also gets you to the bumper areas where you can get more points, or a bonus multiplier, which gives you, guess what? More points. So if you shoot it, it could come all the way around to your right flipper, which you can, guess what? Shoot the same shot over again, because why wouldn't you? Because you just did it and it was so easy. And if it lands in the bumper area, it will come down the right to the right flipper where you can catch it if you're skilled enough and do what? Shoot the left orbit again. So what ends up happening is every tournament player knows this. And if you're not a tournament player and you join a tournament which has Theater of Magic in it, you will know it because you'll see someone who knows it doing this thing. So that becomes the thing to do. And so what you have is a whole lot of skilled players doing the thing to do. And then Theater of Magic games take an hour, and you can't have that during a tournament. So what we saw during Indus, It Never Drains in Southern California event, a great event run by Carl D'Angelo, over in Jim Balsito over in California in Banning, as what they did is they made theater a tournament game. I mean, they take some games that we see as not tournament games and somehow make them tournament games. And what they did was they made the tilt really tight, and they also made it so that when you shoot the left orbit, it comes out at a strange way at a very dangerous angle. So you don't want to shoot it. And then they took the trunk and they made it active with one hit. All you have to do is hit the trunk one time to start a mode. So all sorts of things to discourage people from trying to do the thing. So I was trying to come up with an idea that would, help to not have to do that, because we can't clone Carl D'Angelo and Jim Balsito everywhere, although we'd like to because they're so awesome. So that's where this sort of idea came from that I'm hoping could help. And it was just an article that I kept writing and kept going, and it kept making sense. And I'm like, okay, this is turning into a thing. I wonder if this could be implemented into a new ROM, which they had a new ROM there too. They also had a ROM there for Theater of Magic that decreased the combo value. So you couldn't just shoot the center ramp over and over and over. And it also decreased the bonus X potential, where normally if you shoot the bonus X, you go 2x, 4x, 6x, 8x, and you're done. You're ready for your huge bonus. Now it's 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x. So it changes it from 2x to 1x each. So it just everything that I'm describing is trying to discourage the player from shooting that left orbit. So then that's where this idea came in. And so I feel I've been talking too much. So I want to.
Well, no, that was a good summary. And so in the case of the Indus game, they both modified it in software and they modified it in hardware because of that feed kick out from the right orbit.
Yeah, and it turned out awesome. I mean, they said the highest score was 1.6 billion. So I mean, that's pretty good management there. So that's pretty good.
Okay, so let's come up with another game. Tony, do you have a game in mind?
I'll be honest. I don't know enough of the rule sets more beyond the basic to have really good or really notice any big flaws in them other than I'm not that great.
Let's see. Once you see a couple, like now that you know the theater, did you know the theater flaw before?
No, I didn't, but I know what I'm doing next time I play it.
Watch, your score will jump amazingly. I bet you.
Tony, this is why I should have taken you to theater, because it is what I try and do.
No, you will now get billions. Like all of a sudden you'll do that and you'll not have played many modes at all, and it'll start counting your bonus, and it'll be like, okay, you did this and you did this and you got this many theater letters and you have 8x and your bonus is 352 million. What? Meanwhile, you scored 400 million, right? And now you're adding 300 million to your bonus. Wait, what? Hello?
Would explain several of the games I've played on it where the other guy, it's like, this is a pretty close, what?
Oh, it isn't. You turned your head.
Because I've had that a bunch of times.
Yep, that's it. We've revealed the secrets to the magic. See, Tony's going to become a dangerous player now. Don't take him to theater anymore, everybody. It's over. Once he gets used to that left orbit, it's over. So, that's good.
Oh, I was going to say, well, in terms of, I thought some that would be obvious and just in terms of software alone would be things like Back to the Future or Bugs Bunny, where you've got the score stealing and you just can't, you just can't. When we were, I'd never played Bugs Bunny's Birthday Ball until Texas Pinball Festival last year. Someone had one of the vendors had a restored one. Wow. And all I knew was it was awful. And I was with a group of 3 other people, and I said, "Oh, we need to play Bugs Bunny because it's terrible." And we start playing it, and no one's really loving the shots or anything, but everyone's like, "But why? You said it was really terrible." And I was like, "Just wait," because I knew why. So just wait. And we get to the end, and the last place person opens his birthday present and gets to swap scores with the second place person, and everyone just walked away in disgust. Right. And it was truly precious to me, and I cherish this memory. Yeah.
It's like you got to show them the poison, you got to show it to them.
But I mean, it doesn't have to be a great shooting game. If we could go in and put in a new ROM and take away score stealing, it would at least be viable. Even if you didn't like the mystery awards, it'd at least be viable. I mean, we could throw a lot of Gottliebs under the bus for just saying, let's take out the mystery or make it not as extreme of a range.
Right.
Sort of
all of a sudden you work, you grind, and all of a sudden you get, this super is now worth 300 million, which meanwhile you scored 15 million during the whole game. Those strange Gottlieb imbalanced scoring, or, just swap, take high score. Which one has take high score? Like Police Force, I think, all of a sudden just take high score.
Yep.
Okay.
Shoot this easy ramp twice and take the score.
Let's not do that. Let's not. Okay, how will we prevent that? Let's take that and shoot it 9 times to take the highest score. Okay.
Right.
I don't think that.
How about, unfortunately it's another Gottlieb one, but it was one that immediately popped to mind when I read your article, Gladiators. And the calm before the storm exploit.
Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Let's just build up the entire world so that I can, just build up this huge jackpot. That's very egregious there.
But if you could do something like, limit the use to the abyss hole, like maybe make them shoot something else or some things else. Right. Another thing is, I think the common strategy is to time out all the modes to get to calm before the storm. So make it so you can't time them out. That would actually benefit almost any game, would be to get rid of timeout.
That's the perfect segue. Roller Coaster Tycoon, Roller Coaster Timeout. That's what it is. You time out most of the modes on it. And so you get to Park Tycoon, which is the wizard mode with like no guests. So it was worth no points, but you don't really care because you got guaranteed points where you can't drain. And so then you do it again, and so that's why that game takes 4 years to play if you have a whole bunch of people who know how to do that. And if the game's playing easy enough, you can't have it in a tournament, because the worst things they have in a tournament is you have this one game that's taking up too much time because it can hold people back, and waiting is bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that would be that would, in theory, it sounds like it would be a pretty easy software fix. You'd want to disable the troll at the same time. For sanity reasons, but.
Oh yeah, that troll. Oh no. He wants to be Rudy so bad, but he just isn't.
he's trying.
He even steals Rudy's saying that, "I'm just not happy with you now." And that's how he says it. It's like, you did not say that. You are not Rudy. Come on. It's so annoying.
Yeah, I mean, a few other ones that sort of came to mind. See, some of them have wouldn't be too bad. Like Premier's title fight, maybe it wouldn't have been too bad if that loop wasn't so easy to shoot.
Right,
but it's
just right there.
Yeah, it's like, here, you must shoot me. I am a loop, and I'm an easy loop.
I'm loop. Get it? Yeah, get it. Just why not? You don't have anything to do. Shoot it. It's fine. You're gonna get points for it, and do it again. I mean, one that's less obvious, I guess, is Totem. Where you just shoot the lamp a lot. Yeah. Just really a totem to shoot the lamp. That's it.
Yeah.
So shoot the lamp, lamp, make a wish, triple lamp scoring, lamp, till you die. That's it.
Right. And that one probably is just, modifying people shouldn't get to, if you could take out the ability to wish for, the stars or whatever they are.
The triple. Yeah.
Right.
Don't take triple out.
It would, that alone would probably, because I really like a lot about how that game feels, but competitively, well, I don't really like any J-pop game competitively other than World Cup Soccer. But
World Cup, right? Yeah, World Cup is again, it's opinions, right? But World Cup is objectively,
yeah,
right?
objectively, it is the right answer.
It's an opinion, but it's as close to objective as you can get.
It's science.
It's science.
Yep.
It is. It's science. But yeah, I mean, there's some posts on Tilt forums with, software being in the works that are, you've seen. So you definitely, if you go to Tilt forums, you'll see some of that there. I mean, I've seen, here's another one that came to mind that's totally unrelated. Firepower.
Oh, that spinner.
Right. The spinner. The spinner, right? But B on the other end is like, I want to get rewarded for a 2-ball or 3-ball. Otherwise, I don't care. So there's a ROM that gives you double or triple scoring for getting 2-ball and 3-ball. So, this, or Barracora. It's missing from Barracora. You don't get,
oh yeah.
I want my 3-ball to have, it doesn't have to be triple. Give me double scoring for 3-ball and then give me 1.5 scoring for 2-ball. So it doesn't get too crazy, but just something like that. I think that would make Barracora like the complete game. I love Barracora except for that.
Right.
Except for that part.
Yeah, I like the whole integration of the double lights at the top in the lanes. It's so clever.
It's so confusing.
Yes,
it's so clever.
I really enjoyed watching Bowen's tutorial where he kept accidentally clearing them out because you got to do
wrong.
It's like math on the fly. No, I'm trying to talk here. I do have a Firepower, and I was always really tempted in that ROM. The only problem is you have to change the board set. You have to upgrade the board set for Firepower. The system, what is it? What's its default system? 6. It can't handle the multipliers. It's already but cram that chip as full as it could get. So
you need like the 7th digit too.
Yeah,
if you really
have
get
to do
triple
that,
and you get that spinner. Oh,
It's just like it's a little too easy. It's already relatively easy to roll Firepower, so
right. But at least it would make it worth going for the 3-ball.
Right.
Otherwise I don't even look at it.
No, I mean, at home I'll do it because it's the hardest thing to go for, but I always have to pause them and be like, all right, well, I might see this in tournament, so now it's time for me to practice my spinner shots and just do spinner shots, which is frustrating. So yeah, there we go. We fixed them all. It'd be nice if there was a repository or something where we could download the ROMs easier. Cause I've seen like on Tilt forums, people asking, oh, can I get the Papa ROM for this or that? And it's like, it'd be nice if we could just, if it's okay and they're freely available to have a, community sort of site like Papa hosting a site where here you can download the Papa approved tournament ready ROMs and just do it.
Maybe that exists and I just don't know that.
It's secret then. They kept it secret.
It's a secret.
They don't want us
Where's
to
that
know.
page?
Yeah.
Papa official ROMs. These are the officially approved, and then that you have that ROM that fixes the Dracula glitches, and then we have, they're all in one place, and it's all, maybe it does exist.
Okay. Well, the final topic in competitive pinball that I think I'll go ahead and segue us into now is one that I've had come up locally here recently, and wanted to get your thoughts on this because you're such a prolific tournament player. And that's on ideas on what people can do to help grow their local scene to get new competitive pinball players into tournaments. And I'm specifying tournaments rather than leagues. So we've actually covered the league discussion. Bowen Cairns was on back in May with us, and we really focused in on league discussion. But for example, here in the Kansas City area, there are a lot of those sort of local one-day tournaments, but it's basically the same people coming to them. We might see 1 to 2 new people a tournament, and by new I mean they're not yet contributing to the IFPA formula. That's sort of my definition. When I ran analytics a week ago on the KC stuff for 2017, showing here are the tournaments, here are the average quote unquote novice players, and what all that looked like, and the numbers were all pretty close from tournament to tournament. But all our tournaments are kind of the same in terms of the format. They're usually pretty similar. So I just wondered if you had any thoughts on, I know you tend to be at that sort of the higher level big event stuff, but hey, you're a top competitive player. What works? What seduces the newbies so that they can help pay me?
Well, part of I guess one part of this is seducing the newbies, and the other part is just bringing them in so they don't run away. And I guess we covered one of that. One of the aspects we covered is that waiting is bad. So, people don't want to come to wait, and they don't want to come to a place where they think they're going to come in, get their butt kicked, and then they have to leave. Both of those things are terrible. So match play helps with that. I mean, the qualification best game herb style stuff doesn't help with that as much, because imagine if you're going to a best game qualifier, and now that there are a lot of people who play pinball, there are a lot of pinheads who, like me, who play pinball a lot, and we're there and we're filling up the queues, and the queues are like 5 deep. And then a new player gets up there, and then you explain to them how to get in, and then you explain them to get on the queue, and then they're waiting for 5 people to play, and then they get up there, and then they play for 30 seconds, and then they're waiting again. That's one of the most discouraging things that I've seen people talk to me about, is the waiting. So, the match play definitely helps with that. I mean, imagine if I just put it like this. Okay, you have a bunch of people who are in line for a popular ride like a roller coaster, and you're waiting in line, and then it's your turn to go. Normally, each ride takes the same amount of time, so you kind of know how long the wait is. But now imagine the length of the time you're riding depends on how skilled you are in riding it. So it's kind of, so if you're not good at it, if you're not good at riding the ride, you get up there, you just saw somebody play Theater of Magic for an hour, right? And shoot the left orbit 87 times, and then you step up, brick 3 times, and drain because the ball saves are off because it's a tournament and everything. It really discourages people putting in that second entry fee. They'll put in that free one and then they're gone. But I mean, that's just one reason why Pinburg is the best format ever, because it's guaranteed play. No matter how good or bad you're doing, you're going to have guaranteed play with a whole bunch of people that you hopefully brought with you to play. And then you're going to meet a whole bunch of random people that may not even, new played before. And then you'll play with a whole bunch of different people every round. So, and it's guaranteed play. So, which is like some formats, like say double elimination, are good, but in double elimination, somebody loses twice immediately and they're gone.
Right.
So match play doesn't solve, well, it helps with that too. So just the fact that you're facing people of your equal skill, and as you get better, you start facing other people who are better. You start seeing, different strategies which help you get better. And then, and that's part of the catch-22 for the new players, that you bring them in, and yes, they will get their natural butt kicked a few times because they're a new player and they're stepping into a scene where there are people who have played. But then hopefully we can get to the point where they'll start to learn what's going on. And once they figure out the fact that really all they have to do is ask most people, and they'll tell you kind of what to do.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the unique thing about pinball. I don't know how unique it is as far as pinball versus other gaming scenes, but I know at most places, this is a fake number, but I'll say 95% of the people, 9 times out of 10, you ask somebody about something, they'll tell you, as long as you're not currently in the game, they'll kind of give you some tips on what to do. And all it takes is 1 or 2 things, and teaching somebody how to drop catch once, and they're kind of in.
Mm-hmm.
Once they see, oh, that's not magic. Oh, you just did. Oh, watch, I can teach you how to do it. Done. Okay. Now you caught the ball and you're waiting to make a shot. Now you can aim for that. Okay. And then, okay, why did I aim for that? Well, you aim for that because of this and this, and now this is active. Now they start to get into the flow of how the game works, and they start getting better. And then you start seeing the layers of how a game works, which is why we really have to hopefully, keep programmers like, Lyman and Keith around, who keep programming those games with the multiple layers. Like you have Monster Bash, which is Bash Frank for the new player, but then the new player sees the monsters, and then we can get them to bring monsters in with multi-ball and see how that's better than just bashing Frank all the time. And so there's that progression that helps the new player get into the game. So you have to hopefully hope for games that will keep doing that. Like Walking Dead has that. Walking Dead has Bash the Well Walker. It's a big, huge thing. Hey, hit it. And then you see how dangerous it is. And then, why am I draining? Well, don't do this all the time. Try this. Oh, okay. Then I'll hit then you hit the Well Walker. Nice. And so that's part of it. I mean, I guess match play is friendlier because of the guaranteed play to a point. I mean, sure, some match plays might have finals in it, which is a limiter, But then you have a match play like the Sanctum, which has no finals. It's just straight up get it done 24 hours. But, you know, I guess that's part of it. I guess more match play because herb style qualifications are beginning to collapse under their own weight. I mean, we're going to have a point where we have 20 games in qualifying.
Right.
You know, it's going to get bad where all of a sudden we have the popularity is going to be great, which is awesome for the scene, but then we're going to have queues of like 10 people deep on Metallica. And yeah, now of course the Never Drain software makes that great because you can queue up and go see the rest of a show, you know, and then notice that you're moving up on the queue on your phone. And then when you're getting close, come back. So that helps. I mean, having great software like the Never Drain system, you know, really helps with that. But still, you know, match play is what gets people playing and talking and, you know, drinking alcohol if they do that and, you know, having fun and doing that. And also not being limited by the fact that there is a final that you get kicked out of because you didn't play as well.
Okay. Well, we don't do a ton of match play. We tend to do a lot of double elimination. So it's something for us to consider, us being the scene. Will they do it? I do not know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just a guy with a microphone. I have
double
no
elimination
power.
is easier to do.
Yeah.
It's just as somebody loses twice. I mean, that's just math. That's science. So
Yes.
somebody's going to lose out twice and be
we do
gone.
a lot of science here on EGP. It's sort of our,
Right.
it's like our thing.
Right.
Well,
so yeah, I don't know if any of that made a bunch of sense, but it's kind of
it's pretty clear.
what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we do have actually a couple video game topics we're going to hit on with you here. Hopefully, you're not totally lost. Sounds like you're actually fairly well aware of things outside of the realm of pinball.
Enough, right?
And Tony, you've got one in here about a pretty big Nintendo announcement that I think came out just after we aired last time.
It came out just a day or two after we aired last time. Nintendo announced their Nintendo Labo for the new Switch console.
Science.
Which it's lots of science, and it's cardboard, and it's $70 and $80 for a set. So, but they're going with the using the various controls on the Joy-Cons and the little infrared cameras to let you actually take cardboard, fold it up into shapes, insert Joy-Cons into the shapes, and then it becomes a controller of some type. It's one of those things that seems definitely aimed more at kids, but what's interesting to me is just how far Nintendo has gone out again, like they have in the past, to the kind of weird Nintendo zone where they're like, well, nobody's ever thought of doing, I'm not saying nobody's ever thought of doing this, but this seems kind of weird, but we'll do it. Because the big interesting one to me is they've got an $80 one that uses the Joy-Cons, and you literally make a giant robot suit out of cardboard and you stomp around your living room.
Wow.
And
I saw
hit
that.
stuff.
I'm like, what?
Yeah. It's $80. And the thing is I really am like, I kind of want that.
You know, and this shows that I read too much on pinball, because when I saw the trailer for it, I thought it was pretty clever. I also thought it totally reminded me of the Pinbox 3000.
That's it. I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah, I'm here to cover for you here.
I wasn't going to say it.
So, and
boom, I'm right there with you, Dennis. Right there.
That's right. Which is cardboard kits people can buy to build their own cardboard pinball machines. Mostly oriented to kids using marbles and stuff. It's really cool though. You can put in like multi-ball features and stuff. So we do have a link to the Nintendo Labo and the Pinbox 3000 in the show notes, so people can read about both of those. But yeah, the Nintendo thing, really clever, really weird, really Nintendo.
Yeah, it's definitely weird Nintendo. As I saw online earlier, weird Nintendo is best Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's always cute kawaii Nintendo, and then there's weird Nintendo. So that's where you get that money. And there's Amiibo Nintendo, so, right? There's that level. But I mean, I was looking at this and I'm thinking, first thing I look at this, it reminded me of the Pinbox 3000, and then I'm thinking, I mean, is there some educational value in this? I mean, just thinking, possibly bringing in this to schools or something. That's kind of where my mind went when I saw this, because I went right to the Pinbox 3000. So I'm like, okay, bring that in. We can bring those in to teach physics and construction and things like that. So I'm like, maybe this can be used in a similar way. I mean, other than just pure fun, which this looks like it would be pure fun.
Sure.
I mean,
maybe one of the future Labos that Nintendo will do would be a little cardboard cabinet style thing for the Switch. I mean, that they already have Pinball Arcade, Stern Pinball Arcade, and they can be played in portrait mode, so you can see them long view, and so it already supports that kind of cabinet view style when you play on that system for the virtual pinball.
Yeah, I've been playing Pinball FX3 on my Switch.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it was really clever that they were like, hey, you know what? Unlike the biggest problem with virtual pinball, in my view, is normally you're confined to the TV dimensions, and they are wide, not tall.
Right.
You can't just go, at least I can't just go to my stand and say, all right, TV, it's 90-degree time. Let's have some fun.
You're not going to tape mode your TV like you're playing a shmupper.
Yeah.
It doesn't kind of work. It doesn't work really.
And that what I think one of the challenges of growing pinball as a spectator sport is, as nice as Carl's streams and stuff are, you still just have the obstacle of we're watching on TVs where it's very difficult to see the play field because it's getting squished. Squishy playfield syndrome.
Squishy playfield, yeah.
Let's see. The only other video game item we were going to touch on was Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is a fighting game that just came out. Tony, you have it?
I have it. I went ahead and I wasn't going to get it, but the initial reviews of the PC version showed just that it was a really good port. So I went ahead and grabbed it, and it's enjoyable. It reminds me a lot, like I thought from the videos, and like I thought from all the beta stuff, is it reminds me of some of the old Marvel versus Capcom fighting games, and I could see where this might be one of the new big fighting games once the big tournaments start showing up again. Oh yeah.
Outside of watching competitive pinball and competitive Overwatch, I also like to watch competitive fighting games.
Evo all day.
Oh yeah,
that wastes a weekend.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's great. Then you do it. And hey, why do people watch? They got that big prize pool now. That Capcom stuff. Oh my gosh. So I got this as well for Xbox One. Pretty easy combo setup. It was one of those easy to learn, difficult to master. Story mode does a good job walking through how to play, because I haven't played much fighting games since Killer Instinct several years ago. So I don't play competitively.
Yeah, I haven't. I don't play a lot of fighting games anymore. I used to. I was always a huge Soul Calibur person, which apparently there is a new Soul Calibur coming, but I haven't played them in a while.
I ain't got the young reflexes anymore. Pinball's more forgiving. That ball only moves so fast.
Although there are ways to make that ball move fast. I'll tell you, I played a Tron yesterday that was making people shaking their heads. Oh my god!
There are two tournament games I cannot stand. Full confession. You want to freak me out? You put me on Mustang or you put me on F-14. They're too fast for me. I feel like I can't keep up with the ball. It's a terrible feeling, terrible. But yeah, Tron can be pretty brutal too with that, when we've had it on location.
I'm actually going to go off the list since we're done with the list anyway.
Going off the board.
Oh, no.
Going off the board.
Yeah, we're off the board. Now, Steve, you've mentioned multiple times, when we were talking the pinball segment about SimCity and City Skylines.
Right.
So I'm assuming that means those are games you enjoy. And as somebody who grew up with SimCity and has played a fair chunk of City Skylines myself, have you played the newest SimCity that came out?
Not the newest one. No,
not the newest.
I'm aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I was looking at it,
now.
And then the City Skylines just seemed more like the old one than the new SimCity. So I played a lot of City Skylines, but the whole building style of game and the city design style of game are a game that I've always really enjoyed. So it was so interesting to me to hear you mention it so much.
Right. I mean, yeah, because definitely when I saw the Skylines, everybody let's playing it everywhere on YouTube. I was like, okay, I guess City Skylines is taking the title away. Is that what's happening now? But okay, now I'm seeing this new version now. Hold on. All right. Okay, let's see. Does it look like they may be copying off each other? I mean, is it going to be a graphics battle? Are we tightening up the graphics on level 3? Is that what's happening?
That's pretty much what it is. It's a graphics battle and a slight play difference battle that some people prefer one over the other. I said I play a lot of City Skylines because it lets me do more of the kind of stuff that I like. And it doesn't have, it reminds me more of the older SimCities, where the new SimCity has a lot more, innovations, which could be good or bad for you. So neither of them are new games. They've both been out for a little while now, but it's just interesting to see games like that. And I'd never really made the dialed in connection as much as, like you said, it kind of does have that feel.
It was just the way the overhead perspective was. It was like they just took a section of a completed SimCity map that you finished building and you haven't gone back to in a while, and just put it in the game. Just put it right in the game.
Yeah, that's always a good feeling. I mean, like I said, I played a lot of those games when I was growing up. I play a lot of them now. Those, and I play railroad games too. I like railroad games.
Now, does it seem like just how much are they getting into the granular aspects of it? Like as far as, taxes and, I mean, because cities can get pretty granular when it's on, they're down to the citizen level.
They get into it pretty decently. I know City Skylines, it lets you do it. It doesn't get like real deep into the weeds. It makes things very easy, but you can designate certain sections of the city. This is Robert Hills, and that's going to be the expensive, nice place for people to live.
Right.
And this is Big Iron, heavy equipment, industrial area, and we'll adjust the taxes and the rates and the this and that's on this area based upon that. So, I mean, it's there, but it's not inaccessible. And it does a good job on letting you do the whole layouts, how you want, instead of kind of locking you in more. But the nice thing about City Skylines is it's on Steam, and they've got the workshop and the mods, and you can make it just insanely complex with mods. Or make it really easy with
custom buildings and everything. Like I can have my Taco Bell in there or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Or stuff like that. And for obvious reasons, I play with a lot of mods that have a lot of stuff on the public works side of, the city. So it goes more in depth than normally it's, this is water, and water goes to the house, and this is building gets sewer, and that building creates water, and this building creates trash, and that's all public works. For obvious reasons, I play with stuff that lets me go much deeper into public works, because that's what I actually do for my job. So that stuff's important to me. But just for people who like that kind of game, and if they've not tried City Skylines, it's definitely something I would recommend.
It's looking like SimCity. We have our $29.99 to get in, and then is this $4.99 a month? Is that the same thing? What is going on?
Yeah,
pricing scheme.
The new SimCity. I don't even,
because this is not the same business model as it's not as good. It's not as friendly a business model as, say, Pinball FX. Where you can buy a game and I'm out. But it's not. The new SimCity is very much a get in and play it, and you get all sorts of bonuses when you have the Origin access. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's EA doing what EA does for money. So that's why I was definitely saying on the side of City Skylines, because City Skylines is a one-time purchase, not a whole bunch of stuff. And it's the same thing. It's $30 as well, but yeah, it definitely has insanities.
But that's leading me to Skylines to keep getting into Skylines. I'll tell you that, because especially if you have a monthly fee, it might become like one of those services you get and you forget you have, and all of a sudden, why did I spend $50 a year last year on SimCity? I haven't touched it in 8 months. Wait a minute.
It just comes up to what's becoming the general rules that if it says EA, you need to be real careful with it.
All right.
Well, definitely.
We made it. We got to the end of the show.
We did it!
Thank you, Steve, so much for coming on and speaking with us, educating us on the weird competitive things that are only understood by the true king of caching himself. And for our listeners, if you want to reach out to us, we're on Facebook, facebook.com/Eclectic Gamers Podcast.
We're also on Twitter and Instagram as eclectic_gamers. And those of you who do follow on Instagram might have noticed that I've actually been posting stuff there again lately. Yay, me. I'm actually doing it.
Journalism.
And until next time, where I guess we should have the deeproot pinball interview for everyone to enjoy.
Yep, and we do still have our Discord link active on the last episode.
And there's a link to it on our website, eclecticgamers.com. So, all right, everyone. See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.